My name is Nick Dutch. I'm, of course, a professional online tarot reader extraordinaire, and I've got a fascination with how the world has ended up the way it has. So when it comes to the subjects that I talk about, I therefore have a certain level of curiosity about the antiquity of these ideas and trying to get them right as opposed to trying to get them wrong. So I'm going to have a discussion with you with a very basic timeline, using a few books to illustrate it, very inefficiently, very ineffectively, of course, but let's just try and set them out the way in which I think it should go. Right, there, that goes there, that goes there, and now I'll show you. And then maybe I can explain to you in what ways I think that a lot of modern magic is essentially wrong. Alright, now I'm not having a go at you, I'm not having a go at your spirituality, I'm trying to encourage you to expand your thoughts, feelings, moods and ideas and understanding of these things, so that maybe when you actually try and do something, you're more likely to get a result, if you know what I mean, or at least something strange happening which could then inspire your thoughts and feelings as to what else could be true and could be important and could be useful when it comes to your little experimentation. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Now, here we go. On the left-hand side, we got the old shit. Then we got the medieval shit. Then we got the 20th century shit. And then whatever happens after that is what happens after that. A lot of my early reading was from the period between Crowley and between the Lesser Key of Solomon, which would have been like Alphonse Louis Constant and some of the other classic masters, including Dion Fortune. I think she was more 20th century, but you know, that sort of region, that area in the evolution of modern magical thinking. The Lesser Key of Solomon, lovely imagery in here. If you can, oh, there we go. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? Right, okay. Lesser Key of Solomon, we're talking about Middle Ages period, based upon a theological point of view created as a result of a criticism of demonology. Okay, and someone took the notes from the back, which is supposed to explain how childish and stupid demonology is, and then from that, they actually created one of the most notorious grimoires on the face of the planet, the Lesser Key of Solomon. But this is the Book of Ceremonial Magic, Arthur Edward Waite's version, in which Arthur Edward Waite is also very critical of attempts to use demons. Obviously, like anything which exists in the here and now, or indeed in the medieval period, you know, you can tell that there'll be some good stuff in there, as well as some stuff which doesn't necessarily work for anyone or in any way whatsoever. Now, you go back further in time, to the tune of about 3 millennia, you end up with this. Sefer HaRazim. Alright, it's got some interesting words, it's got some interesting little prayers and incantations, which will remind you very much of the Lesser Key of Solomon. Okay, it's that kind of semi-Judeo-Christian long format of prayer. Okay, also read about that. I think slightly earlier in history we'd have the Egyptian Book of the Dead, Tibetan Book of the Dead, and so on and so forth. But this is where the complexity is, if you get my drift. Alright? The Lesser Key of Solomon is very key on having the right equipment and, I know, cutting the right reeds at the right time of year or day of the week and so on and so forth. And making all kinds of weird and wonderful tools of the art, which of course eventually got warped and morphed through both modern magic as well as the tarot, strangely enough, because the tarot has the 4 tools in it, which don't mean what occultists think they mean. Alright, they don't. The suit of wands is the suit of hockey sticks, which is the suit of sports. The suit of coins means commerce, swords, conflict, and cups, social interaction and conviviality. Okay, it's the 4 elements of human life, not the 4 elements of earth, air, fire, and water, and so on and so forth. Okay? So that's where magic has gone wrong and awry, because new cults have been created which express a particular interpretation of symbolism. But let's go back to the actual history of the theology of the people who would use things like Sefer HaRazim. Alright, it's about 15 quid from Amazon, you can get it yourself, okay? They did something which I found out only in this year, I think it was, that they did something called Ascension Theology. Now, this is where it gets curious, because Ascension Theology essentially means going into meditation and prayer and focusing on going up, going up, going up, going up, going up, going up, ascending, 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 going up, going up, going up. and then strange anomalous things can occur as a result of that. I did that once when I was late teens, I think it was, and I sat down in a similar way to what I could be doing now, right? Back against my bed at the time, just in my bedroom, okay. And I was trying to keep a good upright posture, relaxed, natural, cyclical breathing, okay. And I created a mantra for myself, and the mantra was, I am ascending slowly to reach God, I'm ascending slowly to reach God, I'm ascending slowly to reach God. And I carried on doing that for a long time, and I could feel the what I could only assume would be the gamma brainwave frequency, that sense of vertigo, okay, occurring in the top of the head. And during it, I saw sparks of light between my fingers and that kind of fun thing. So the action of ascension does seem to open you up to a certain level of spiritual energy manipulation. So it's probably less alpha theta, as some people suggest, and much more the higher frequency states of mind of gamma brought about by meditation. After that particular experience, I actually had some very weird astral projections, and in which I actually met a couple of entities there, but I wasn't sure whether I was dreaming or whether I should consider it to be real, and so I behaved badly towards them. Bad mistake, but never mind, that was my own silly fault. I now realise that that was first contact, and I'm now realising as a result of putting the pieces together that it was the high frequency, high spirituality, so to speak, meditation that I'd done, which had somehow opened me up to be able to experience that thing, that to have that experience. So, going back to our discussion, okay, what I've just told you is essentially, as far as I can tell, an important, useful truth. What you make of it is up to you. But Crowley himself spoke frequently about rising the planes and doing it every day. Rising, going up, ascending. Was he essentially, in that rather glib passage, trying to explain that we should be doing ascension theology on the basis that we're experimenting to try and have these strange experiences? Is that essentially what he's saying? If so, it would make some sense that the states of mind of what you would consider to be like the shamanic state, sort of between 3 and 7 cycles per second, or maybe slightly higher than that for alpha, being about 8.6 cycles per second or whatever it is, could in fact be important for some things, but less important when it comes to direct contact with potential entities. I mean, what with what he said. All right. He suggests that you should be able to get into and out of your astral body like taking off your dressing gown. How could you do that if you're trying to focus on slow brainwaves, when essentially if you're focusing on maintaining your normal demeanor but still managing to have that sort of higher level going on, maybe you'll be able to overlap like some kind of augmented reality experience with what is being perceived spiritually and what is being perceived physically, which then makes some credence to a certain extent with the idea of him doing ritual magic for the purposes of dealing with entities or alleged entities, such as those which appear here, but as a result of having practiced the ascension aspects, going upward in meditation continually. My general impression, and a bit of very scant research, suggests that the main masters of all the key religions, anyone from Moses and JC and Buddha and Krishna and all these other guys, probably did the same thing. So obviously the rest of us, like curious people, are rather concerned as to why it is that mainstream religion encourages us not to work on ascension and not to work on spiritual experience and actually finding it directly. And from direct spiritual experience to be able to build your own spirituality, which would possibly make some sense on the basis that you grow with it. I mean, some of the spiritual ideas I had when I was younger, I wouldn't really want to touch now, apart from some of them which still have some validity. Just a question of how I am growing to deal with these particular experiences from my memory, and also what I could potentially do to try and create a new experience. I've got a call coming in and I'll speak to you shortly.